So while you're getting organized, I think I'll kick things off and introduce myself. Hi, I'm Alora Anophis. I go by they them. I have been diagnosed since like 2015. I was diagnosed with Asperger's, with major depression, um, and anxiety, and I believe ADHD. Um, I have uh, been adjudicated by Social Security Administration to be on SSDI, so I am government certified disabled. Not that that needs to be a thing, but those are my
We know
credentials
it's
here.
serious then.
This is how you get the monies.
Yeah, that's true. I will also specify that I am not physically disabled.
I am.
Go next, Dizzy.
Okay, well, I'm Dizzy, and I have, let's go in chronological order. I was born with a fucked up heart valve. It's bicuspid aortic. It means that the blood doesn't go through my heart properly. It's a pretty common disorder, but it's also linked to a lot of other stuff. Like if your connective tissue doesn't form correctly, so that your heart valve is fucked up, it's not just a limitation on the blood flow through your body. It also means you're probably going to have a lot of other shit, which slowly developed over time as I aged. I have ulcerative colitis, which I got diagnosed while I was in college, which was fun because I was shitting blood. And then shortly thereafter, I stop biting my hand. Hey, sorry, she's biting my hand. There she is.
Oh.
Shortly thereafter, I developed something called enteropathic arthritis, which means you have colitis and now it's fucking with your joints because the inflammation has spread from your gut to the rest of your body. So I had inflammation in like everything. I am on multiple medications to deal with this. I've been on like a variety of different medications over time. The first one was an auto-injector to deal with the fact that my immune system response is way too strong, which is part of why you have colitis and enteropathic arthritis, is that you have an autoimmune disorder, which means that your immune system is so fucking angry that it's attacking your body. I also got diagnosed with fibromyalgia, which is I've been under too much fucking stress and now I don't remember how to process pain disease, which is fun. And I've been trying to get diagnosed with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome for a while, but they give you a runaround. It basically means I have fucking floppy joints. Mm-hmm. There's a couple different types. Mine would be the hypermobile, but they get cranky at you, like, oh, well, you can't genetically test for that because you don't all have the marker. And it's like, bitch, just do the test.
Yeah, it's like pretty expensive genetic testing too, right? Because they have to test you. It's like 12 different subtypes, and 11 of those they have a genetic test for. So it's like a different one on each thing.
Yeah, so I think the next time I'm just not going to tell them what type it is.
Yeah.
That was actually the advice from my physical therapist because I was given the runaround. I was given the runaround of, oh, you gotta go to your, my room was like, you gotta go to the physical therapist. And then I finally made an appointment with the physical therapist. And like, I explained it to the physical therapist and she's like, no, we don't actually do that. You have to go get a genetic test. And I said, the genetic test was what my GP told me to get. And that didn't work because I was then told to go to physical therapy. So we're stuck in a loop. It's like, okay, well, I don't know how to do this then. That's a long list of my diagnoses. As for symptoms, I can't stand for very long before my feet hurt. I have to have knee braces and I have to have compression socks to function for anything beyond my limits, which I did a lot of yesterday because I went to Trans Pride Seattle with K-Fish and Demon Mama and Demon Mama's household. So that was fun, and also I'm dead fucking tired. So my knee braces and my compression socks were doing good because my feet didn't hurt. I just really wobbly and I almost fell a couple times. That's another thing. I have a functional movement disorder, which is there's nothing wrong with your nerves. You're just under so much stress that your brain has forgotten how to function. So it's very much it's a bunch of like stupid things that happen when you just I explained it to the hand doctor because I also had to see a hand doctor. I have garbage body disease. My body just sucks and breaks easily.
Luxander, have you introduced yourself?
No, I think I am next. Also, my camera not be showing up on the stream, but it's definitely on Discord. So I just want everybody to know I'm trying my best. But yeah, I don't see it on the Twitch. So hopefully they can hear me at least.
It says it's not on Discord.
Really? Because I can see.
Here's a different webcam. Here's a different webcam now.
I can see Lux the whole time. What is this?
Oh, there it goes.
What is this bullshit?
I can even see.
Okay, there we go.
I can even see.
Oh my god, it works.
Now I'm on. Okay. I don't know what happened, but we figured it out. I've been giving like nods and little feedbacks the whole time, and nobody can see me. Anyway.
I saw it. I saw it the whole time.
That's what's important. Hi, I'm Luxander. I primarily online use its pronouns now, but like in my real life, it's mostly they, them, / I don't correct people anymore because I'm like 14 years into being non-binary and I truly just don't want to talk to people. So that's pretty much where I'm at. My disabilities. Okay, so here's what's on the books for me. I've had ADHD independently diagnosed like 2 or 3 separate times, and I think that's probably one of my primary barriers. Like, it feels like that's one of my primary barriers, at least in my kind of day-to-day, and like my memory issues associated with that have also caused like, you know, interpersonal issues, and like it's one of the things that people tend to be the least patient with me about. So like, as far as difficulties in my life, I think ADHD is probably up there as being close to the worst thing that I deal with. But I have like a lot of different ones. I will never get disability benefits because I'm like many different disabilities in a trench coat kind of situation. And together it's quite debilitating, but individually, like I probably wouldn't be able to prove anything. As far as, and I can work technically because I'm self-employed as a streamer. Hi, Luxander.net. Anyway, so ADHD. I also have been diagnosed with PTSD, which I temporarily like kind of cured a lot of the symptoms of last summer, and then I got new PTSD from my IUD placement. Fun times. So that's also quite difficult because, of course, you have like the depression and anxiety symptoms that are associated with that. For a long time, I was being treated for depression and anxiety before going to therapy and realizing that my issues were PTSD and borderline personality disorder I've also been diagnosed with. I have kind of like, I guess, more of an internalized version of BPD, but it does still suck. I am not diagnosed as autistic, although I suspect that I am autistic. And that's just like, I have so many issues with socializing and like not understanding people. And I vibe with other people who are autistic so much. So I'm just like, I've given up on questioning it at this point. I'm just like, yeah, pretty sure that I'm both autistic and ADHD. And then I've more recently come to understand that I do have some physical disabilities. Mostly I've just been focused on having like these mental struggles, but I also do have postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, or POTS, which a lot of people who are getting COVID have this, but I have had it since my entire life. As far as I know, I've always had like huge cravings for salt. Like salt helps your, basically POTS is like it's like a coordination problem between your heart and your blood vessels. So the symptoms of that is like low blood pressure, and like the postural orthostatic part refers to if you go from being like prone and then you rise, like when you stand up, or when you like, go from laying down to sitting up, what's supposed to happen is that your blood vessels are supposed to like constrict slightly to increase the pressure of the fluid within them and like help the blood get to your brain and stuff. And then your heart rate is supposed to increase a little bit, but my veins don't like constrict the way that they're supposed to. So what ends up happening is that my heart really has to like work hard to pump blood through my body, and I have low blood pressure like episodes, which like doing yoga can be kind of challenging if I'm doing like a move where I'm bent over and then I'm supposed to go up to mountain pose, and then I'm like, oh, I think I'm gonna black out. Like I'm gonna go ahead and just sit down on the floor real quick. And that also that disability was one of the main things that prevented me from pursuing my career as an electrician, because again, it's postural. So if I am like army crawling through an attic, like my heart rate is 1 fucking 60. Like it's earnestly quite difficult to deal with physically, and I like didn't realize that until I started doing mindfulness practices through my therapy for borderline personality disorder, like starting to pay attention to my body. And then that's like as diagnosed as it can be. Having talked to my doctor about it, there's like basically no medication for it, so it's like there's not like a huge point to me. I guess you can take beta blockers, but there's not a huge point to me getting diagnosed until I need to pursue those medicines, and for now it's mostly just self-managed. Undiagnosed, I have some kind of mixed connective tissue disorder, such as EDS perhaps. It's very obvious that I do have it, but it's like, again, like there's no real treatment for it. I don't need access to physical therapy, so I just kind of have to be careful with my body as I'm like working out. I just have to be like cautious and use assistance, like I have like wrist straps that wrap around the bar of the dumbbell or the barbell so that I don't have all the weight like in my hand, because that hurt my wrist recently. Lifting a 15-pound weight, I hurt my wrist, like my finger tendon all the way up my pinky. Pretty dumb.
There's a reason I do not take heavy casserole dishes out of the fridge anymore.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, it's like obvious that I have pain that other people don't have. I've suspected fibromyalgia, but EDS can also just increase your pain sensitivity because it's a skin and it's like connective tissue throughout your entire body, y'all. When we say connective tissue disorder, people don't understand. It's like your skin, your organs, your blood vessels. Like in severe cases, EDS can be like, it can literally kill you because of your heart and your like veins and stuff not working properly. And that's very rare.
Your body is held together with glue, and if the glue isn't very sticky, you have problems.
Yeah. So there's a lot of I get a lot of weird pain and like sensitivity in my joints and my ligaments and tendons, and like bruising and just a lot of really mild kind of overall sort of debilitating symptoms. Like, so yeah, all in all, those are all of my issues combined into I have no choice but to be self-employed now, which is great that I'm doing it and it's working, but there's not really another option for me right now.
We were going to have a couple other people on.
Mm-hmm.
Let me pull them up so I can see their names. We're going to have why is it F ... Why can't I look at this? So we were going to have a couple other people. Zen and Poppy couldn't make it, and Fizz Griffin.
My buddy Fizz, yeah. He's part of the art scene with me. He has like all of the shit that I described and that Zeph described, and that's Lux's non-screen handle name.
Yeah, doxed. Okay, you're good.
This is one of the realities of being disabled, is that sometimes you have to cancel last minute because your symptoms are being a bitch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's like the most queer disability panel thing ever to have like half the panel participants canceled because of disability.
Like literally half. Yeah, Xena and Poppy both had like migraines, and then like I think Fizz also today had the migraine, and like just among the many other issues that Fizz has, like the migraine just struck today, and you just can't do anything about it, y'all. Migraines are very, very painful, and they're not always receptive to medication. So
yeah,
well,
sit
more
in a
like
dark room.
3.25 because I'm planning something for tomorrow. I'm going to call in for a streamer that I will plug at the end, hopefully.
Sure.
And
I have been I've been
a lot
yelling
more
at
work than I
you
was planning
not
on.
to overdo.
Yeah, I know. That I wanted to do a lot more work, but yesterday I just had to sit down realized that, you know what, I can't do all this stuff, and the team I've got is good, and they know how to do things, so we're just gonna roll with it. So that is a reality of being queer. I have lost basically every single job that well, 80 to 90% of every job that I've ever worked to my disability, and I've flunked out of college twice because of it. Uh, so just be, and Dizzy's gonna get mad at me for this, but for putting it this way, but just because it's a mental disability doesn't mean that it's any less disabling.
It's
So.
it's actually incredibly disabling to have stuff that's fucking with your head. Things that are fucking with your body, like if your head is clear, you can often get through it, but like there are days when my body feels better than it usually does and I'm tired and I just go back to bed because it's like, you know, we're not pushing through this fatigue. It's not going to get better. I'm going back to fucking bed where it's comfy and where I don't have to deal with this just like pressure on my head because it's stupid. I'm not putting up with this.
So, in case this becomes a segment, I'm going to introduce myself. I am Star Panda TV, and I don't really have any disabilities or neurodivergence as far as I know. My partner keeps telling me that I have undiagnosed ADHD, so we'll see what happens there. But yeah, I wanted to put this together so people would feel welcome, and I appreciate you guys for being here.
I suggested it.
Yes.
I like credit.
Yeah.
Dizzy always leading the way on the conversations for sure.
And
Dizzy.
I got in by nepotism via Dizzy. Dizzy.
Dizzy is great,
Yes.
and you should follow them on Twitter.
I post funny things and also stupid bullshit.
Straight that you didn't mention dinosaurs. That's like 50% of your whole thing, so
I almost wore the dinosaur shirt.
you should have.
It doesn't go with this though, and I didn't want to be like, oh look, here's my hairy sweaty pits on stream.
Fair enough.
It's like a regular thing for me to inadvertently show off my hairy pits because I started like weightlifting a couple months ago, and there's like been a decent amount of progress on that, like considering that I have to hold back so much because of my connective tissue issues. But like, it's a regular request on stream, so I'm like, listen, if you get to the donation goal, I will objectify myself for you and flex my muscles.
Also, while we're talking about like collective tissue stuff, shout out to Sunspider from the Spider-Verse movie, who is a disabled queer spider with ELS and
EDS.
Or,
EDS.
yeah, Ayler is where
Yeah.
I got the L from. But I don't know if it's just the same in the movie. I haven't seen it yet, but in the comic books, their web shooters are the crutches, and they web their chair to their back.
I have seen it. It's a really, really good cameo. It's so good.
I loved Spider-Verse.
No spoilers. I haven't seen it yet.
I'm not gonna give any spoilers. You
I
better go
won't
see it.
spoil Yes, everybody needs to go see it so I can squeak.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and get right into the topics. So the first question I have here is, how have you fared in finding disability community? I guess finding a disability community, and did the internet play a stronger role than meet space resources? I guess in-person resources.
Meet space sounds like a re-edition. Or Dizzy.
I wrote the questions and I put that in.
Yeah, I love it. So, and if anyone wants to hop in, you can go ahead.
Who wants to go first?
I think I'll start again, and I'll just say that I didn't really start realizing that I'm actually disabled until I got my diagnosis in like 18 or so. I don't really get out much. The internet, like for a lot of disabled people, is my socialization, and yeah, I haven't especially gone looking for a specifically disability community. But then again, a couple years ago, me and Dizzy ran into each other, and we've been disability uh, buddies ever since, I suppose. And so I shoot back and forth pictures of dinosaurs and stuff, and cats, and Claire
And
Max.
Ark. Yes.
Ark.
Oh God. Lots of
Goals, truly.
our DM is like 25% clear max. Hot AF today.
Yeah, listen, I show her to people more often than I care to admit.
Also, Fizz says hi from the Discord group chat.
Hi.
I mean, I think like being online is one of the main ways that a lot of disabled people get contact with folks. I mean, like, you know, Dizzy has a chair and therefore like can only access certain spaces. Like, okay, if you want to go to the queer night at the local community center, but the community center has fucking stairs, like that's a literal access issue where you can't get to it.
I'm lucky that I'm semi-ambulatory. I can walk for a little bit, but like my chair is, if we had this like going through the volunteer park, there were I ditched the chair after a while because the bumpiness of the grass in the booths was just like everybody kept getting away from me as I would fall into another rut and then struggle to get out of the rut.
But I mean, your chair is heavy and you have like issues with your arms and your hands, like so.
My chair is actually a light frame. It's the
Oh, really?
Yeah, I have a light frame. I have a I got to pick out the brand. It's a good chair. It's a really good chair for me. I'm just really out of shape. I was in way better shape before COVID, and I just, when COVID hit, I was like, well, I'm not leaving the house.
I mean, yeah, that's the other thing about like trying to form disability community right now, or like trying to find community in general right now, is that like anybody who I care to meet is not going to want to meet in person because I don't want to meet in person. Like, like pandemic is still actively going on. If you are already a million disabilities in a trench coat, having long COVID on top of that is a fucking nightmare scenario. Like, I can barely work. I cannot imagine being even more limited than I am. Like, I don't have those days where I can't get out of bed, and I really don't want to. I would like to do my best to avoid having those days where I like know several people. Like one person I know genuinely like can barely get out of bed a lot of the time. I have another friend, Merrick DeVille, who like a lot of people know off of Twitter. She like coughs up blood on a regular basis because she has like micro blood clots in her lungs. And like one of my cousins can't work anymore. Like, yeah. So trying to establish community or like with disabled people, with queer people, like, am I going to go to Pride and risk infection because nobody is out there? You know, it bothers me seeing pictures from like the SAG strike in Hollywood, like that a bunch of people, even though they're outdoors, they are packed tightly and they're not wearing masks. And I just I don't see that situation getting better for a while, which is like a deep frustration if you're in a place where you know that you need community, which I know that I need more like mutually supportive relationships. It's like my assignment in therapy right now, and I'm terrible at it. I don't want to. And this is one of those things. Like, how many things am I going to have to negotiate? Do what?
I said, this is why I send you memes.
I know, it's true. Yeah. You start with memes. That's how you infiltrate.
And then it's pictures of cats, and oh look, there's Claire Max. Let's talk about that for 2 hours.
I will talk about whether Mossy shat in the yard today or not.
That is also true. You will hear about dog messes if you talk with Dizzy.
Delicious.
I would also like to say that it's important for just representation because when I first started, the first time that I started to let myself I identify more as disabled, It was after a long time, and after following a lot of disabled people on Twitter. I actually DM'd Mustang's Art, who did the phenomenal D&D combat wheelchair that has been on Critical Role and has been in Pathfinder and the Witcher RPG and a few others. And I DM'd I believe them and asked if I counted. I am doing air quotes with my hands here since I'm not on video. And they said, yeah. And that really helps. And
This
I would
is
also
one of
like.
the things. Sorry.
I just want to shout out one more thing. The Streampunks RPG group, they stream over on Q Times. They are really, really good as far as disability rep goes. And Sam DeLev is freaking smart and a power gamer, and is one of the most entertaining people to watch playing at a table. So.
One of the things I was going to say is that like people often they look to me because I have a wheelchair. It's like the it's the disability symbol. They're like, do I count as disabled? And I'm like always, yes. Disability is a spectrum. It's a spectrum of, do you need accommodations at work? Many people are working and disabled and they don't have accommodations. And that can lead to somebody needing to quit their job. If you don't accommodate people working while disabled, they become unemployably disabled. Some people can't be accommodated. Like me, I cannot work 8 hours a day. I can barely stay awake 8 hours a day sometimes.
But shorter shifts is an accommodation. Like, that would not be that hard. Like, continue your thought. I have so many fucking opinions on this subject, though. I will jump in.
Feel free to interrupt. But like, people are really quick to go, just suck it up, buck it up, get to work, you lazy fuck. And it's bad. It's harmful. The human body is fragile, and if you push through legitimate problems, you're going to exacerbate those problems over time. So it's important to understand that disability is a spectrum. It's a spectrum that will impact everybody at some point in their life. Some of us are just disabled with a capital D. And it's really variable. And if you want to talk about your disability, because it's such a broad spectrum, I often talk about myself as a chairer, because those are some of the struggles I face. But it's a very broad category, and a lot more people qualify as disabled than one would think.
And we'll just say just one more thing, and I'll let Luxander jump back in. I have described going to work to people as taking psychic damage that I didn't realize that I was taking until I could get on SSDI. SSI is a whole other issue that we could go on for hours, but I got on SSDI. I had guaranteed rent and bills. Food is still an issue, but I at least had a roof over my head and electricity and internet. And once I could just stop and breathe, I could look back and realize just how fucked I was by forcing myself to go in when I couldn't do probably 10 to 5 to 10, maybe 5% of what I used to do, and that was part-time. And yeah, it's amazing sometimes. So if you're thinking that you might be taking psychic damage for you have to go into work every day, that might actually be a thing.
Yeah, I mean, like, there is like a psychic damage kind of aspect to it to an extent. And I think people don't understand that, like, there's a compounding issue. I mean, this is like what intersectionality means fundamentally, is that we have, disability and queerness and transness kind of all affecting your work at the same time. So like, as a trans person, you already have to like be a better worker than average in order to not have additional scrutiny on you for no reason. And then if you're disabled, then you're basically like not employable. But it's like even if you are just disabled on its own, the thing that I have found, like I don't know, like Dizzy, I don't think you've ever really worked. Like you have been
I worked.
disabled since you were young.
Yeah, I had one job before I got disabled. I've
Yeah.
actually technically I've had 3 jobs. Just 2 of them haven't been paid. I worked at a print shop while I was in college. It was a volunteer position. It was unpaid. I loved it. It was great. I couldn't do it now because I'm way too tired, and the amount of pain I'm in would not function good for me just hanging around a print shop all day. It's cold
Yeah.
in there. I worked at a summer camp for an entire summer as kitchen staff. Could never ever do that again, but it was a great summer. I took the owner's dog hiking in the mountains. That was very fun.
Nice.
And then I've been, technically the fact that I was project manager and then co-lead and then like full lead for a hobby art roleplay game project called Dracostrix on the internet for my career at Dracostrix stretched over the course of 5 or 6 years. That was exhausting. It was a volunteer position too, even when I owned the group on paper so that we could run our taxes without it having we had an LLC so that we could run taxes without it individually impacting people. That was exhausting, when you're wrangling 30 different people, even if it's just purely online, it gets really exhausting, and especially if you're having interpersonal conflict with somebody, or you're trying to balance a bunch of conflicting personalities, or you're handling a bunch of, and this is one thing that's interesting, is that I've met a lot of disabled people through the art roleplay game space because it's something that a lot of queer disabled artists are drawn to. Here's this fun game online that I can participate with friends that's purely digital. But then you're you have to accommodate everybody's needs. Everybody's got migraines or dietary problems or ADHD or sleep issues or insomnia. So you're constantly you're putting on your professional face, you're putting on your I'm in charge of everybody hat. I have to be emotionally mature and I have to push down how I feel about situations and solve people's problems. That is exhausting. I was being lead and everybody's HR all at the same time. That shit wore me the fuck out, and I left due to complicated reasons that I won't go into at the end of last year, and I didn't realize just how exhausted I was and how underappreciated I felt as a leader for all of the work that I was doing unpaid on the project until I left, and I was like, oh god, I just want to sleep for months. I'm so exhausted.
Yeah, like it creeps up on you. I'm like, I started working when I was 18, and I was let go from a job last year in February. So like right before I turned 29, or right before I turned 28. Sorry. So 10 years I tried to work, and I worked in gas stations and various retail stuff like that. And I tried to be an electrician, and I was a mail carrier for a year. And one of the things that I've come to realize is that it's not that I can't work. I think that for a lot of disabled people, it's not that we can't work. It's that the system, the way that it's built, is designed to punish you for needing very basic accommodations. So if I was I had a weekly appointment for therapy while I was in the most intensive part of my therapy, and I basically needed 2 appointments per week, and I managed to get them on the same day. So I was like, just need this day off every week. Totally should not be a big deal. But in a lot of industries, if you're not able to be full-time, they don't want to keep you on. If you're I can work, but I can only work 4-hour shifts. Even in in some places that's reasonable. If you're working at FedEx and you're sorting packages, they might have 4-hour shifts because it's understood to be really hard for your body. But if you need something fairly basic, it's that they don't want to bother to accommodate you, and then you get shoved out of the traditional market for employment. So when I say I can't work, it's because people don't want to accommodate like schedule needs or like having to call out on an inconsistent basis. Like even for my own stream, like I stream 3 times a week. I'm on like a schedule or I try to stick to it. And even for me, there's times where I'm like, I just don't want to fucking do this today. Like I just feel terrible about it.
You cancel like a fifth of streams.
Yeah, I mean, and even then, there are times when I don't want to stream and I hop on anyway, and then I still feel equally as shitty the next stream. Because like my schedule is just like I just don't have good boundaries with having days off. So I have stream on Tuesday, and then every other Wednesday I have therapy, and then I have fucking stream again on Thursday, and it just feels like it's constant. So like having boundary, like I have clearly an impulse to have a lot of work done. Like I clearly have like a drive to do stuff, and then I have like a bunch of things that just physically get in my way. Like the operative part of your brain that turns like I want to do something into now I'm getting up and doing the thing, that is like not functional in people with ADHD. So yeah, like it's a struggle even with just me on my own trying to get the work done, and then also like, I think Dizzy, you've mentioned that you're probably not gonna be on a life trajectory where you live alone. Like I currently live alone, and I just have to do all the dishes, like, and I find it really, really difficult to do all of the things that are required in a home and work and take care of my like emotional needs. That's the thing that gets left behind the most. Like that's why my PTSD isn't getting better right now. Yeah, it
Like
just is
I
super
didn't
overwhelming.
mention in the intro, but I definitely have undiagnosed neurodivergence. It was my autism self-diagnosis that got my little sister. My mom took my little sister in, and she got diagnosed because we had like all of the same symptoms growing up, and still a lot of the same symptoms now. Like I struggled so much in school, and I just accommodated myself. If there was a noise that came on in the classroom, and this was actually about a decade ago. If there was a noise that came on in the classroom, this was back when I had the undiagnosed issues with ulcerative colitis. I didn't know what was going on. I just knew my guts were in pain as I would like handle my class load at Highline. Fuck, I did the rabbit trail. Autism. I had all the same symptoms as my little sister. I just, I never got diagnosed. My mom specifically, like, people were like, I was one of those kids where, like, I would scream and line my toys up and be like a really weird little gremlin. And people were like, this child is probably autistic. You should go get them evaluated. And my mom has her own traumas with the medical psychiatric system in the 80s. So she's just been like super reluctant to institutionalize or medicalize us, it has its benefits. It has really important benefits, but also the world doesn't treat you with respect if you don't have a person in a white lab coat say, yes, you're fucked up and people need to be nicer to you. So it's like that. It's shit like that. So I've always like I've said to my doctor, look, I just want a diagnosis for ADHD in case medication can help me. I do not want to get diagnosed for autism and have that on my record just so that I can be like, hey, I'm stupid and you have to be nice to me.
Yeah, I mean, given that now there are some places, like speaking again to the overlap between like disability and being trans, like in Missouri they tried to do it, and in another state, I can't remember which one, they're trying to do it again, like making it so that you need to get an autism evaluation before you can have access to hormone therapy or puberty blockers. Like, and the implication there is that if you are autistic, you will be not allowed, or at the very minimum, you will have a higher degree of scrutiny because apparently autistic people like are incapable of knowing that they're trans, or like it's so easy to take advantage of you, like the infantilization. So I don't want to get diagnosed with autism. And like another thing is like it can affect your ability to have like custody of your children. Like Not that I
Or to
anticipate that being an
adopt, or
issue.
to
Or to adopt.
immigrate.
Yeah. Like they don't
Yeah,
want autistic people.
yeah. I just want to make sure that we hit that point. I brought up in the group chat earlier. But yeah. The, if you're disabled, you're pretty much stuck in the United States.
I
Um.
really thought that Canada had changed that. Like I thought
I
that they
I
had softened
I
their
think Canada,
regulations.
I
I don't
think
know about
Canada has
Canada.
adjusted it, but in a lot of places, no. A lot of places are
Yeah.
just like,
So I used to basically just, oh yeah, apply for disability, make sure that you get SSDI over SSI if you can, if you're in the United States. I still think that's a good thing, but you should also keep in mind that it might keep you in the United States. With the caveat to that being that while you may not be able to get out of the United States, it might keep you alive with shelter over your head because of the SSI or SSDI payments. So it's a trade-off. I can't say for sure which one is best for you. That's something that you'll have to figure out. But it is something to be aware of if you're planning your escape route. So
Yeah. So I have another question for you guys. The challenges of invisible versus visible disability, and the imposter syndrome that often goes with. Um, Another great question by Dizzy.
we've verged into that a bit, but we should talk more about it.
Yeah, I
Like,
would
brought it
love
up
for
when
you
I was
guys
talking
to
about
elaborate on it.
when I brought it up when I was talking about how like a lot of people, autistic people are usually pretty fucking good at self-diagnosis. Like we can tell there's something wrong with us the moment we don't fit into society. It's why the changeling myth exists. It's because people are just like, you're not human. You don't act like a human. And you internalize that pretty quickly. You may not understand why, but you internalize it pretty quickly that you're not welcome and you're not wanted. But then you're like, you try to say, hey, I have a reason for this. I took the RADZAR online and I scored a super mega autism score where it's like, holy shit, how did you not get diagnosed when you were in public school for a couple of years? And it's just like, you know, my mom didn't want me to be medicalized. My mom just wanted to be me to be me. And unfortunately, society is not like my mother. Society is not like, hi, let's invest in this child and give them what they want. Let's allow this child to, you know, be really excited and go to the library and check out 100 books about animals and bring them home and read all of them and then draw pictures using the books as references and get really, really super invested in writing a full taxonomy of the entire order Carnivora. People are not like, my mom took me out of school because school didn't work for me. And this is why, like, when people will talk about homeschool, they only understand like homeschool bad because they understand Christian religious homeschool. And I did, you know, those are communities that I was around. I did grow up Christian. We were weird because my mom started off as a spiritual seeker, and then ended up in Protestant evangelical Pentecostal Christianity. But like, my mom has always been a nonconformist. So I was out of school not for like specifically because of the religious aspect, even though I encountered a lot of religious homeschoolers and I was a religious homeschooler. I needed to not be in school because school was bad for me and the homeschooling culture just sucks. So like, we need a better unschool and homeschool culture for people like me who need to be able to have alternatives. I loved the alternative learning that I was able to go to. I used to take, there's a nature center in Tacoma at a place called Snake Lake. I was able to go in a couple days every month and hang out with other little nerdy, probably autistic or ADHD kids who are just really, really interested in nature. And we would weigh these baby turtles that the center had every month. and we would go out and take a Seki disc, which is like it's got like a white and black pattern on it, and you dunk it in the pond and you lower it down on the rope and you see, okay, how much visibility do we have in the pond today? And we would net a bunch of plankton in the pond and then put them on field scopes and look through the lens and see all these little dudes. And it was fun. That shit is fun. And I remember way more of what I was taught because it was interesting to me. I remember a lot of like basic like forestry and ecology knowledge because I wanted to be in those classes. I had a good time. Whereas like I can't remember how to tell you. I can't remember how to divide fractions. That, you know, out of my head because I didn't need it. I didn't end up needing it for cooking. Like you know, I can, but you know that we have a digital calculator now. You know, I can convert a fraction to a decimal. I don't need to do it on paper anymore.
We're all cyborgs now with cell phones.
Yeah.
As someone that was also homeschooled and had a slightly different experience, I would also like to make a very critical defense of homeschooling because while there are a lot of just people that just want to shelter everything from everyone, granted that is also kind of me, but some people think that homeschool is just take the kids out of public school to, and who cares what the standards are. There are parents out there that do really put in genuine effort. My mom specifically put all of her kids through homeschool, and really, it was her full-time job, and she really put her all into it. At the same time, I was begging for my last 2 years of high school to go to a public school because I knew that I was behind socially. I didn't realize I was autistic or anything, and I probably would have burned out there. And that going to homeschool in the last couple of years, I, I was completely homeschooled. By the way, just all the way. The first non homeschool thing I had was driver's ed, but I probably would have burned out pretty fast in public school, so it's probably best that I didn't go. Um, but and also it, if you know homeschool, the words Abeka books will probably light a fiery rage inside of you. And for everyone that had to do Zoom school, I can sympathize, but I actually had it worse because my classes were on VHS and DVD, so I didn't even have the social output that you guys did. Uh, I did get out every like 6 to 8 hours a week since we were out in the country. This might sound worse than as I'm saying this. I realize that this might sound worse to other people, but it was a good childhood. And I've always been kind of a loner that needs lots of space. So it was good and bad for me. But there are it's not all just people that just throw standards in the bin for homeschool. So there are a lot of Christian people that just want to wrap everybody in bubble wrap and not see anything else. But
some people need the specific social bubble wrap. Like I definitely could have handled having.
I think looking back, I probably did too, even if I hated it the last couple of years.
Like I needed anxiety meds, to be honest. But for the lack of anxiety meds, like I did not need to go through public middle school. I was pulled out of public school in 5th grade because it was a bad time. I was even in the gate class, but we had a last minute change of teachers, and he was not a gate teacher, so he just gave us more work, and I would just come home crying like, look at this fucking worksheet. it's got the same problem on the front and the back. This is just you. This is cheating. You're just making me do extra work, man. I know how to do long division. I know how to multiply shit on paper. I don't need to do this no more.
So how about you, Luxander? Are you homeschooled or did you go to public school like some kind of nerd?
We are super off of the original
Sorry.
topic
Yeah.
somehow. I mean, yeah, I mean, I did go to public school, and now I am homeschooling 2 teenagers who are dramatically behind on their academics. So, I mean, homeschooling is fucking hard. Like, it's a really difficult job. Trying to like calibrate like where a kid is in their development, and like trying to keep things fun and engaging, and trying not to replicate the kind of like horrendous authoritarian environment in the school system. Like, and because you're a parent and not a teacher, like the relationship of authority is more complicated, and because there's no grades, the like sense of impending deadline is really difficult. And like my teens are probably both ADHD, and at least one of them is autistic, maybe both of them. Like we might all be ADHD, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, it's a really hard job, and like I honestly do think that in some ways it can be better. Like I really think that like public school is good in the sense that you get like a socializing thing, but it's also a bad kind of socializing because of the ways in which the culture preserves bullying and stuff like that. So it's like, could you just get that socialization by like
And beats down
having other homeschool friends?
neurodivergent kids.
Yeah, like yeah. So and like the failing classes feels really bad when you have ADHD. Like you want to do the work and you just fucking can't. So I mean, yeah, it's hard. And like trying to make it a collaborative process with your kids, because you know you kind of like can't force them. I mean, I have teenagers, you can't force them to do shit. If yeah, and like so I have to be like, here's why you're learning this. I'm going to convince you that it's in your best interest to learn it. Like homeschooling is hard, and I do have mad respect for like people who've done it for a long time, but it is also like really creepy and weird, and I wouldn't want to have community of other homeschool parents probably in the same way that I'm an atheist pagan and I don't want community with regular pagans, because I think that would
Yeah,
freak
I'm
me
not
out.
sure that I'd want a community with other homeschoolers.
No.
But yeah, it was okay back when I had it for like a year, but knowing what I know now, no, I would not want that.
Having been in community with a lot of other homeschoolers and gotten to see like an outsider insider's perspective on like a lot of like conservative Christian religious bullshit.
Yeah, I don't think so. So it's tough.
Yeah, sorry, this kind of got diverted into queer and disabled homeschooling. What was the original question again?
Invisible disability.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah.
I will say that even in the planning for this panel, that in the group chat, I was kind of nervous at first because all of the that we were talking about was more mental stuff, and I was kind of concerned that it was going to be a purely, except for Dizzy, and I found out Luxander was going to be in there too, um, mental stuff, and I don't know. There's a weird inferiority complex where I know I know that Dizzy will kick my ass if I say that not disabled enough, but it's still that feeling because it's a weird thing where disabled people are presented as physically disabled in most media, and it feels almost invasive. To I so I suppose the closest queer corollary I can think of is like trans women not feeling like they belong in women's spaces when they're starting out,
Or non-binary people feeling like they don't belong in trans spaces.
or or anywhere sometimes.
True. But it's like the not trans enough feeling. Like a lot of trans people have that, or like bisexual people feel like they're not queer enough. especially if they're in a hetero-passing relationship. You know, I think that's one of the commonalities of disability and trans and queer identities is that like it's almost part of it to feel like you're not disabled enough or you're not trans enough. Like unless you have a really clear physical disability, and even then sometimes people will be like, well, someone else has it worse than I do. Like, you know, oh, my friend Dizzy has to use a chair to get around and they'll never be able to live alone. They have it so much worse than I do, or whatever. Like, or like,
I'm just like,
someone has
fuck
severe
that.
agoraphobia versus me, and I can still go out and talk to people. You know, like
I've been on the other side of this. I've had people back when I was physically abled tell me that my mental disabilities were not real, even though they impacted me. And that pissed me the fuck off. So now that I'm on this side of it, I am just like both middle fingers up. I don't know if I can do that on Twitch, so I'm not gonna. But there's a reason why, like, as much as the wheelchair symbol is such a good, clear symbol, I really dislike it for identifying with disability community. That's why, you know, I bought myself this for my birthday. I don't know if you can see it, but it's a tiny little spoon.
it's a spoon.
It's a tiny spoon on a gold cord with like a little. It's got a little bitty mushroom on it, which I just thought was pretty.
I am in love with mushrooms lately. I crocheted this.
It's so cute.
I also like to say that I don't personally use the spoon stuff anymore because as I understand it, that's more for people who, or at least originally, when they use a spoon, they don't get it back. But I can sometimes get energy back after a short rest, so I have switched
Bell
to
slots?
the terms. Yes,
Mhm.
that was exactly where I was going.
Yeah.
It's what is it, like unified cutlery theory or something?
Yep, spoons, knives, and forks. Yep.
But even then, like the fact that this, like, a spoon has become like a disability symbol because it was something that disabled people, and it was for, I can't remember exactly what the disabilities of the person who came up with it was, but it works for mental and physical disabilities. And
I want to say some kind of cancer, I think.
there is not a clean line between mental and physical. They go together. Like, my fibromyalgia is not physical, even though it manifests itself in pain. It's in my head, and by in my head, I mean it's in my nervous system. It's very much a product of the fact that I have been overstressed for the past 10 years. So my body is manifesting pain because the ability for my brain and my nervous system to process pain signals has been altered due to the stress. That's technically mental, even though it manifests in physical ways, like my hands and my joints, in everything. Pretty much every joint in my body except this one, which is fortunate because I talk a fucking lot, is in pain. And we're not like a duality of body and mind. One disability term I love is body minds. We are a complete and whole system, like a complete and whole machine. Our brain is not separate from the rest of our body. It's part of the meat puppet.
I can't tell you how often I cry during yoga. Like just something about engaging your body in this way, like it just unlocks shit. It's cool. It's fun to just cry randomly during yoga.
So I don't really like to draw. I mean, there's obviously some difference in like your specific accessibility needs, but I don't like to draw like a clean line. It's a blurry line where we often have, you know, symptoms overlap, and the symptoms are more. It's more easy to talk about disability when you talk about, these are the symptoms that make me struggle, these are the things that I struggle with, this is how I accommodate for that, this is how I need other people to accommodate that. Because there might be somebody in a chair who never has a problem making it to appointments, because the reason that they're in the chair is purely my legs don't work. They don't have like extra pain. They don't have like fatigue or anything. They just can't move their legs, so they use a chair. And I've seen there's people who can do like rock climbing in their wheelchair. Their legs don't work, so they're just doing it entirely with the upper body. And when your legs don't work, they often like atrophy, so you're lifting less and less weight down there. There are some people who get like really, really athletic, more athletic than a lot of mentally disabled people, because their disability is purely physical, so they just shift to other parts of their body. Whereas this is the command center. This is where everything, flows from. And so if you have something going on up here that's a problem, that can then impact everything. And so a lot of people expect disabled people to just, oh, you can do stuff, but differently. You're differently abled. And it's like, no, we can't function in society because you built society for people who function this way. And if you don't fix society so that people who have like not the same ability as you can get through it, can get food and shelter and all that shit, we are not differently abled, we're disabled, and you need to respect that. Even if like I can't do as much work as somebody else, even if I'm like a burden under the system, I'm a human being who didn't choose to be this way. And whether that's physical or mental, I still deserve the right to healthcare. I deserve the right to shelter. I deserve the right to be social, as long as I'm not a jerk. Like, I'm not a jerk unless you're a jerk, and then I throw down. And I deserve to be able to eat and drink and have water and be happy and pursue relationships. The fact that I'm disabled shouldn't put me in the state mandated position of being like a perpetual dependent on other people. The fact that we do that is, we do it to people who have mental and physical ability, and it's stupid. It's fucked up. And I hate that. This is getting into the social model of disability, which is like a whole can of worms I could go into. We've been dancing around it the entire time, like the way that disabled people can't get a job even if they can do some work, because work is structured to be 8 hours, 40 hours a week, and if you can only do like 2 hours a day, fuck you. You don't get to have a life. You don't get to have a job because, you don't work hard enough to be allowed to live.
I would like to quickly just name a term here for someone, just for somebody that may or may not know this in the audience. There is a term called executive dysfunction. If you don't know what that is, it's where you might want to do something in your brain, but or in your mind, however you want to make that the philosophical distinction, but your body literally won't do it for whatever reason. It might be you could be mentally screaming at your body and it doesn't work, or it could be more of just a brain says no type thing. It's really hard to describe, but when it happens, because a lot of people just think, "Oh, you're just being lazy," but sometimes it's just brain literally shuts down and goes brain foggy if you try. So that's a thing. For whoever needs to know the term, that's a thing, and hopefully at least one person can go, "Oh, hey, that's me." So
Yeah. And like what Dizzy was saying about like the definition of disability, like we really are defined by like the ways in which society has cut off from being able to achieve success. Like to the extent that like, I feel like maybe I should wait until Dizzy gets back to point this out, but like Dizzy has an additional disability that they didn't even mention, which is that yeah, Dizzy, you have glasses. And you didn't mention that at all because glasses are accommodated for so completely that we don't consider it a disability.
I've got glasses too. Not that
Yeah.
you can see it.
So yeah, like when we were talking about our relative disabilities, because we don't have issues with being unable to see, like you just have glasses, and like healthcare for that is totally normal. And you know, like even issues like people being like blind, like there are areas where like you have braille signs and stuff, like it's not perfectly accommodated for, like in Kansas City now, where it's like the heavily walkable areas, not only do the traffic symbols change for walking across the street, but there's a little speaker that says like you may walk across the street, or like the thing is blinking or whatever it says, you know. So we are working toward accommodations for those type of things, but we are
we
not
have to
seeing
fight for them. Yeah.
well, yeah, that's true. And those are easier to do because, you know, adding a speaker is much less difficult than replacing all of the curbs to make them rampy, you know, or like replacing all of the stairs in all of the buildings, all of the businesses. Um, you know, it's if the government mandates that kind of thing, then a lot of the times the government has to fund it, and they don't really want to do that. So, yeah, I mean, it's
They're
all
like,
about
oh,
the
they're like,
accommodation.
oh, you don't contribute to society. Why should I have to pay for you? I'm like, bitch, do you have any idea how much I contribute to society by being disabled? Do you have any idea how many medical assistance device companies I keep employed? How many things I have to buy because I'm disabled? How many heating pads I own?
Medications.
How
Yeah.
many pairs of gloves? I am keeping the pharmacology industry going. I keep like 3 different doctors employed on the regular, and I'm constantly seeing extra specialists. I create industries by existing. My existence as a person who causes challenges in the world gives people jobs. So the fact you think that I am not a benefit to society financially just because I can't work is fucking ridiculous. Do you know how many people get fulfilling and validating employment from just taking care of me? That's something people don't talk about. Like, they'll be like, oh, well, you know, we deserve rights, and you should be nice. Well, people, because you should. And you should. Everybody deserves rights. But I also create industries. People who are disabled create challenges that then create jobs that then keep people going. These are good things. And it's not like, why would you want a world that just has like make work office jobs that disabled people can't attend, when doctors could be having like actual like validating work, when caregivers could have validating work? Why don't we pay people well to be able to do shit that actually takes care of humanity? That's
Engineers.
what we should be doing.
Like engineers who
Yes.
make your chairs like lighter and lighter, and like create new mobility devices and new prosthetic arms and stuff. Yeah.
It's also
All
probably
of
worth
that stuff is
mentioning
cool.
that if you've ever seen a product that seems to be really weird and you can't figure out why there's a use for it, odds are it's a disability aid, and they had to market it to non-disabled people to justify the financial cost. So,
Like electric can openers, those exist for me. They're not
oh
like
my god, they are
they're
a
not
fucking lifesaver.
they're not there because people are lazy. They're there because I have arthritis in my hands and the can opener hurts.
I have
Mhm.
executive dysfunction.
There's really stupid like infomercials, and by I'm calling them stupid because it's the infomercial. It's that really really dumb annoying like infomercial thing. But you'll see like, here's this handy dandy sock slipper on her. Call now for a price of blah 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 blah. And people are like, why the fuck do I need this thing that puts my socks on? That's for disabled people who they can't bend over to put their socks on.
Mm-hmm.
Also, this seems like the perfect spot to do the service dog PSA that we want to do.
Yay!
Sure.
I don't really know much about service dogs, but Fizz wanted it, so and it's a good topic for disability. So, whoever take it away, I guess.
Come here, Mossy. Come here. Yeah, come here. Oh, you gotta protect that from the boys. Come on, come here. Hi. Yeah. Oh, I have it now. Hup. Good girl. I'm trying to train Mossy to be in service, but she's still 20 months, so we're still working on we're still working on the basics of hey, sit down, no, down, hey, down, sit. We're very good at this. when there's not somebody about to steal our treat. Oh no! Don't fuss at them. Fuss at your uncles. And Fizz, Fizz has a fuck, he's not a beagle. He's a something. Fizz, if you're listening, correct me. His name is Copper. Copper is Fizz's service dog, and he helps a lot with keeping Fizz from dissociating. I think he also can do some other things. God, we share so many pictures of dogs, and then I forget to ask specifically what Copper's trained behaviors are. But a lot of people are think that a service dog can only come from like one of those organizations that specifically breeds Labradors to then hook them up with disabled people. But that's expensive and hard to do. So a lot of disabled people train their own service dog. And if you see a service dog that's not a Labrador, it's usually one. There can be golden doodles or poodles as well, for people who have allergic issues that are better with a dog that has curly hair and doesn't shed as much. But those are usually they're usually trained by the disabled owner, and a lot of people have a dog also that will be a medical alert dog. Like I saw at Trans Pride Seattle, there was somebody who had a healer. I believe it was a healer. With a little vest that said, "Hi, I'm a medical alert service dog. You know, don't separate from me from my owner. Don't touch me while I'm working." And the dog was in perfect heel with the girl as she went through the event. And there was another person there who was in a wheelchair, and they had their he was like an American bulldog, I think. Big boy, soft boy, friendly boy. I will squee over dogs for like 2 hours straight if I don't stop myself. Me at every dog at Pride. Ooh. And they were working on getting him to be calm and desensitized. No. Hey. And a lot of people they will judge you if you have a service dog and be like, "Oh, you got one of those vests to put on your service dog so that you can take your dog everywhere." People have just so many stupid ideas in their brain about the fact that they need to police disabled people, and it's like, look. If somebody is faking, it's none of your damn business because it's not hurting you. And you will hurt disabled people if you take it upon yourself to police them. Please, just don't. Even if you think somebody is fake, just leave them alone. You're not helping anybody by policing them. Please just leave people with their dogs alone. Don't touch the dog. Don't bother the person. If you see somebody in a chair and you don't think that they need the chair, don't tell them that you don't think they need the chair. If you see somebody get out and walk from a parking spot with a disability placard, and you think, "Oh, they probably stole their disabled grandma's car, and they look young. Why can they walk?" Shut up, please. Just leave them alone. You don't have to do this. Also, people on TikTok who you think are faking disability, don't call them out. Just leave. If they're spreading incorrect misinformation, that might not be because they aren't disabled. It might be because they learned some bad information. Correct the misinformation and move on. Don't call them a faker. Please don't do that. You know what happens when you start accusing people of being fake disabled? This is what happens. Attack real disabled people, and that makes their lives harder. So please just leave them alone. Just leave them alone. Please leave disabled people alone.
Very well said.
PSA.
A little scary, but
What was it that I said the other night? I said that my existence is ominous.
Yeah,
that is
that's
very true. Yeah. Yeah, that was basically another question that we had for that. Like, what is everyone's, I guess, feeling on internet misinformation and quote unquote faking disability?
basically
I'm
what
gonna let
Dizzy
you
said.
two go because I already said.
Basically what Dizzy said, because um, if you start going around hunting down fakers, you're gonna probably hit a lot, a lot more actually disabled people than people that are actually faking. So it's not a good behavior.
Yeah, I feel like, we talked about it earlier, and even if, I mean, maybe we didn't talk about it earlier, maybe this is like me from Twitter earlier today. There is such a thing as like psychosomatic symptoms, which aren't like necessarily any less real. So like, what purpose is there in, well, okay, so actually this is tricky. Have you guys seen any of the videos of like people who claim that the COVID vaccine gave them like convulsions, and
Oh
they'll post
yeah.
videos of their convulsions?
Yep.
And it's like, so we're dancing around like a thing. It's like, yeah, on the one hand, I do want to make sure that we're not questioning random disabled people, or we're not calling people trans-abled or whatever fucking crazy shit. But at the same time, like, yeah, I think that if someone is trying to spread misinformation about COVID vaccine, then
Yeah.
pointing out that they're faking their convulsions is totally fair. It's like how people will sometimes bitch about how like, well, you can't question my pronouns because I said that this is what they were. And it's like, okay, Destiny, you really think that I'm going to be like tricked into thinking that you're actually non-binary, or that you actually give a shit about pronouns? Like, you're just doing this as a bad faith attempt to make trans people look bad, and I will call you out on your shit, and I will disrespect your pronouns. Or maybe I will respect your pronouns because I know that would fucking annoy you. Like when Tucker Carlson had him as she, her on Twitter for a while. Like, so that's a struggle, I feel like. And I have personally seen I used to work in gas stations for a number of years. I've seen actual service dogs come in, and I've seen like one time very clearly not a real service dog, just a vest slapped on the dog. Not, it like had a leash, but it wasn't being held by the leash, and it was just wandering around smelling all the food in the gas station. And I was like, and like the lady like walked outside. She was like trying to figure, she was like out of gas or something. It was late at night. She was like freaked out or whatever. She like left the store and the door closed and the dog was still inside the store. Like, just a very clearly you bought a vest online. So like it's a struggle in some situations.
there's,
So you can't say that blanket, I don't think it's right to question at all.
There's also there's clauses in the ADA for the service dog allowance, where it's like the dog needs to be well behaved. If the dog is not being well behaved, like disabled people, our disabilities need to be accommodated. Us being jerks does not.
Yeah.
You are allowed to yell at us for being a piece of shit.
I mean, I think I even had the same week a guy with a much younger dog, clearly in training, and it jumped on my counter and he restrained it. Like, it was still being taught how to be a service dog. And like, okay, your dog did misbehave, but then you corrected it instead of your dog just wandering around, and you're not like, you're supposed to be there companioned with the animal. It's supposed to be well behaved. Like, you can have it in a restaurant because it's been taught to stay under the table and be quiet. Like, yeah, so there are certain, but at the same time, like, as a person who works for a business, there's liability surrounding like asking someone about their, or like kicking them out because of their dog, So like, you kind of just are in a situation where even if someone's dog is kind of clearly not a service animal, like, you can't, there's no reasonable way to approach that without it being like you basically just have to have a blanket policy against it, which you can't, like, so you kind of just have to either allow all of them, and like that's kind of it. Like, I mean, I just don't see another way around it. And like, similar with people on the internet potentially faking their illnesses, you kind of just have to assume that they're being truthful, unless they are spreading serious misinformation, or like very clearly trying to serve like a biased narrative,
Like with the dog, like if the dog is disrupting the business and making it so that people can't be there, you can kick them out. It's the same sort of like, if I'm trying to think of an example. If somebody who is abled walks in and they smell really bad, and it's so bad that nobody can stand to be there, you can kick that person out. It's about accessibility, and being a jerk is not something that you need access for. If your dog is misbehaving, if your dog is poorly trained, if your dog is like not doing what it's supposed to be, people can ask you to leave. The point is not, you know, oh, I don't think that person's dog is actually trained or not.
Or as a similarity from the queer experience, it's the difference between being against all detrans people and being against the detrans people that are using it to be transphobic.
Yes, it's the transphobia that's the problem, not being detrans. We love detrans people.
Detrans people are good.
A lot of them are non-binary and went through sorry, I have dogs. A lot of them are non-binary and were offered, you know, you can stay as a binary cis person or as a binary trans person, and they didn't want to go all the way. So detransition was, I don't like this either. I am so sorry. I'm gonna go grab that dog.
Dizzy, after a long time with dogs on video. Oh yeah, by the way, I do happen to have dogs.
Yeah, just like an hour and a half into the discussion.
No. This is like I expected this, and it's a reality. 3 dogs. They don't like being patient while I'm on call. They like to, you know, have needs and bark about them. God, what was I fucking saying before Kai started barking?
You don't have to put
Since
up
we're in
with
the last like 30
asshole
minutes, do we have
people.
any like question topics that we want to make sure we hit before?
We should probably move on from random diatribes about dogs.
Yeah, I just don't know what topics you had prepared for us. So if there is anything that you really wanted to hit on before we end,
I'm just
like,
going through the list of topics that we have on the document and letting you guys vent basically about what you want to.
I think we kind of covered all the topics. Roundabout. What was the next one?
Let's do this one. Luxander, you touched on it a little bit. But what are the challenges faced in medical transition due to disability? Like, I guess.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, for trans people, essentially.
Yeah, I want to say hello to all the Vashites. First of all, welcome in. Thank you for the raid. We appreciate you all being here. We're having a discussion about disability and queerness and how those intersect right now. So
thank you, Vash.
Yeah, thanks, Vash. Thanks.
Hi, dumb fucks.
So access in getting medical care as a trans person. I mean, it super depends on where you live, right? Like, I mean, I guess I don't know. I mean, you know, ADHD obviously has an intersection with accessing trans-related care. Holy shit, there's the Vosh raid. I just saw the number jump from 88 to like 1,000. Hello,
Jesus Christ.
Voshites. Hello.
Oh,
What's up?
Let me say real quick, everyone who's joining right now through Vosh, thank you so much. I appreciate it. This whole thing is virtual Pride. We're doing something all day to celebrate Pride. And we're also doing a fundraiser for Rainbow Passage. Rainbow Passage is an organization that helps like LGBT people get out of hostile states. You can do !charity or !donation to or donate, I should say, to do all that stuff. And yeah, please support the group. We're trying to do some good work, and thank you. So, yeah.
Yes. But like ADHD gets in the way of getting just any of your appointments done, really. I guess I didn't experience a lot of difficulty getting my transition-related healthcare because of like the fact that it's informed consent. You know, sometimes non-binary people have a difficult time accessing healthcare because I mean, even when I first got my testosterone, like I was not telling them that I was non-binary. I just kind of like let them assume that I was a trans man and didn't discuss like the details of my identity. So I got diagnosed with gender identity disorder because it was that long ago. Yeah, I guess like there is, yeah, because of the whole autism thing, like some places want you to not have access to surgery or hormones. Like I don't know. I can see ways in which physically disabled people can be viewed as like incompetent in ways that, I mean, if you're reliant on a caregiver and your caregiver just decides not to let you see a hormone doctor, like if you're super duper reliant on someone, it's just like a number of ways in which you are subject to potential abuse, like you're vulnerable to potential abuses, whether that's like medical abuse, like it being denied to you by the doctor or being denied by your caregivers, being denied to you because you have some comorbidity that has to be resolved before you can continue. Um, but I personally haven't had a huge amount of difficulties accessing transition related care. I've also
I
not
have
really tried to get surgery, so I don't know how that's going to be.
I have struggled immensely to
Yeah.
access care, and it's not because like it's not because I don't have an affirming GP. I have like everything going for me. I have a trans specific GP through my medical system, and she writes me prescriptions ahead of time so that I have enough. I'm exhausted all the time, and I also have phone anxiety. So I can't I really struggle to get through a call with somebody and remember how to talk because the stress of, oh my god, I have to remember what I'm saying and I have to do it. Sometimes I will just shut down and go nonverbal. And it's not something I can really control. Like I'm calm and chill on streams and people are like, "Oh, you have phone anxiety. How do you have phone anxiety?" And I'm just like, "Well, my healthcare doesn't depend on me being able to get up and perform and be funny. I can't like I can hop on and crack jokes and make up shit and just say whatever. It's not that hard, but actually getting stuff in my life that matters, that makes me stressed. That shit makes me stressed, and then I got to remember what I'm doing, and then my brain is just like my eyes start to roll back in my head, and I'm just like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, there's dead air on the phone, and this is somebody who's actually getting paid for their job. This is not like me fucking around on a Twitch stream. This is me, wasting the time of my doctor, and then I'm like, oh my god, I'm wasting somebody's time. I'm wasting time. And then I just, and they're like, can you hear me? Can you hear me? I'm like, yes, I can hear you. Just can't talk. I can't talk. So that's been a trouble, and also being tired and waking up in the middle of the night and trying to stay on a sleep schedule is really, really hard for me due to neurodivergent reasons and also fatigue reasons. I can't drive. I need assistance to get wherever I need to go. I could take the bus, but I can't reach the bus because our neighborhood is shitty and doesn't have a sidewalk that goes from our neighborhood to the bus. So I have to rely on other people, and when other people in my family are sick, which has been like the past several months, I went for like all of March. I had to detransition in March medically because I could not get my fucking HRT. I had to go in for a blood test, and I didn't have anybody who I could call on to drive me to the doctor to go get the blood test done. So I just couldn't get my HRT renewed, and I just ran out of HRT. And I wanted to scream at everybody because I get really angry when I'm off testosterone.
So I might have lied. I have those invisible disabilities. I am on medication for anxiety and depression.
Mhm.
Those
So
are very disabling. So yes, those
Yeah.
count.
I forget about them sometimes because the medication kind of works.
Yeah,
But
which is what you want.
Yeah. Hopefully I can at some point get on like an ADHD med, because like the executive dysfunction does like affect me a lot. which is what I wanted to talk about earlier too, but like you guys moved on pretty quickly. Um, so
we can circle back around. This is a very diagnosed and undiagnosed ADHD panel, and thought spaghetti is how that goes.
I guess I have that kind of what we talked about earlier, the imposter syndrome with those kinds of disabilities and neurodivergence and all that. So it's
Yeah, does mental stuff measure up to physical of disability stuff? I know that
Yes.
very, very well, and yes, it does.
In many cases, people with depression can't even get out of bed. I can get out of bed in the morning. I'm not just so depressed I can't get out of bed. So, like, you might have your body functioning perfectly fine, but if you're that depressed, you're functioning at a lower capability than I am, and I'm not here to say, oh, well, my joints hurt, so I'm more disabled than you. That's not how this works. It's about what do you need in your life to be able to get through your challenges and be part of society. What help do you need? And that really varies person to person, and just because somebody is physically disabled doesn't mean they might be incapable of working, and just because somebody is mentally disabled doesn't mean they can just, buck it up, suck it up, go into your job and deal with it. That's not how human bodies work. That's not how any of this shit works.
yeah, like at my job, the thing that pushed me over to get anxiety medication was that I was moved to a different area that I'm usually in, and I had a full-blown like panic attack.
The
And
territorial lizard brain, I know it well.
yeah. Yeah, I'm like usually in one specific area, and then I was moved to a different area, which has happened before, but like this time it seemed like it was different for some reason. But yeah, it was very surprising what happened, and I was immediately like, I gotta go to my doctor with this. This is bad. So
Just to back you up on that, that's kind of why and circling way back, this is why I kind of need to live by myself, or if I do live with someone else, I need a lot of space, and I need a dedicated area that is purely mine. Nobody else can go in, because otherwise my lizard brain, whatever, is just gonna start getting mad at people, even though they shouldn't, because they're in my space. And yeah, that is definitely something that happens, and it's definitely valid. So just want to drop that in there.
I have a
Mental
question.
disabilities.
I was just gonna ask everybody, like, because this is like a trans and queer and disabled panel. I am really curious, as we're winding down, like we've talked about like the different ways in which our lives can be affected by being disabled and also like being trans and queer. So like, what do you feel has been personally like worse for you in your life? Like, I ask this because, people think of being trans as being, very debilitating. Like, oh, you're going to have conflict, in your family and like issues interpersonally, and you're going to like potentially have employment problems. And while I have had those difficulties, I guess part of it was that like I was undiagnosed, and my stuff was not only invisible but like undiagnosed and like unaware of for such a long time. But like my disabilities have by far been a harder thing for me to grapple with in my life, and like it's created more barriers for me, and that's why it can be so difficult to be trying to engage in the queer community and having things like accessibility being on the back burner, like not making sure that places are COVID safe, not making sure that our spaces are, cool for autistic people to be in, or like cool for people with alcoholism to be in and not
Or
be.
chairs.
Yeah, or chairs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like Pride is a big fucking outside event, it's like hot. I can't regulate my body temperature. That's part of my heart condition, is like I can't regulate my body temperature and I overheat, and it's literally physically dangerous for me. So like, yeah, I'm just curious what other people have felt with like navigating the world as a trans person or queer person versus navigating the world as a disabled person. Like, which do you feel is more troublesome?
disability is definitely the one that gets me the most interactions and the most trouble. Like, I'm in the Seattle area. People dress weird. People kind of expect it. There's also a culture of don't don't go like fuck with strangers. It's really really weird here, like to go up to a stranger and just start fucking with them. Like, that's not a thing that we do. You have to like be confident if you just give somebody a random compliment as you're passing them on the street. It's like the opposite of New York. I'm walking here, it's like everybody's walking and they're just like, I didn't see anything weird happen. I'm just doing my stuff. I'm not seeing the weird stuff. I know there is a man over there and he is naked, but I didn't see that. So you can dress weird and you can dress funky, and the attitude is very, keep to yourself, idiot. Don't talk to the weird guy. But being disabled, like, everybody has this preconception of what kind of person you are the moment they see you in a wheelchair. They think that you need help. They think that oh, it's my social duty to offer help to a person in the wheelchair. Sometimes that's needed. Like, when I was on the bus yesterday, the bus took a curve really hard, and I wasn't ready for it. And there's hooks on your wheelchair that can secure it in place so you don't tip over. And the bus driver only put one of them in, and I tipped back in the other direction. He told me I put myself in a position where I thought that I would be able to handle the bus really well, but he asked me to move to the position so that he could do the hook. And two strangers on the bus, the girl behind me and the guy across me, jumped up, seeing that I was about to fall, and they helped me put the hooks on my chair, the other hooks, so that I was sturdy for the rest of the ride, which super appreciated because I was about to fall.
Mhm.
But a lot of other times, I will just be going about my business, and people will see me roll up to a shelf and look at something up high, and before they see me even try to reach it, they ask if I need help. And I'm often like, no, thank you. And then I throw the brakes on my wheelchair and I stand up because I'm an ambulatory person, which you could figure out if you like. I carry my cane on the back of my wheelchair and it sticks up like as high as my head. So you should be able to like look at the cane and go, oh, this is somebody who can get up and walk a little bit. But people don't do that because people aren't like, they're not, nobody is ever taught like 90% of wheelchair users can walk at least somewhat. They're like, they expect, oh, wheelchair, no leggies, no work.
This is why representation matters.
Yes. I was at Winco the other night, and I was bagging groceries in my chair, and I had a lot of energy, so I was getting through the bagging of the groceries really quickly, and there were a few things that I had to reach pretty far for because I'm lower down than like when I'm at standing height. But I was doing great. I was bagging just fine. There was absolutely no reason that you had to look at me and think, this person can't bag their own groceries. And this random lady walks up to me and she's like, do you need help? And I said, nope, I'm good. I didn't look up. I just kept bagging the groceries. And my mom, who was with me, was mortified, like, oh, you weren't nice enough to her. You have to be nicer to her. Oh, you might have been rude to her. You might have hurt her feelings. And I was in the car on the way home and I'm like, Mom, I'm bagging groceries. There's no reason for anybody to come up to me and offer me help except that I'm in the wheelchair. And that's a bit insulting, except that I'm a really chill person and I can just say no, but I'm not going to hold your hand. I'm not going to worry about your feelings. You asked. I'm not like I'm pretty chill. I'm not offended that you asked. I'm just not gonna make it a big deal. I'm gonna tell you no and keep going about my day. I expect this, that random people will come up and offer me help I don't want, and I will say no, and then they will go away.
But also, someone infantilizing you is being rude to you. Like, this is another thing that I struggle with a lot, is like people doing a microaggression, which is fucking rude, and then me going like, hey, go fuck yourself. and then being like, "Ugh, like, what have you done?" And it's like, I'm sorry, but you started shit with me. Like,
Yeah.
that's the thing, is that like you're gonna start shit with me, and I'm not gonna go like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. Can you please stop starting shit with me?" Like, listen, I'm ready to throw down. I am a conflict, like, I used to be conflict avoidant, and now I'm like, bitch, I'll throw down, you know? So I just find that really stupid when, like, you're even managing to be chill about it, but it would be, in my opinion, deserved to be like, do
It
I
is. It
like
is if you're if
I'm
you're
in a
not.
wheelchair, do like my arms look broken to you? Like,
It is rude. It is actively rude. I'm just very chill for the most
yeah, but I'm
part.
saying your mom, like, saying something about it is like, your mom doesn't understand that treating you like an invalid is like wrong to do, and like that is
Oh yeah, I
you
let
started
her
it.
know. I let her know in the car, and I was like, "Mom, you're treating me different than your other kids because I'm the one in the wheelchair.
Mhm.
You know, and like, please, you know, just listen to me." She's like, "Well, she was trying to be nice." Yes, I know, Mom. I know she was trying to be nice, but what she did was rude. And I told her, "I'm good." You know, I wasn't rude to her. I
You
was
didn't
just
say,
curt
"Oh my god, thank you
because
so much, though. I appreciate you offering," which is what you're
I'm
supposed to
not
do.
I'm not that kind of person, you know. I'm this weird little autistic gremlin fuck in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm going to echo what Luxander and Dizzy here said. For me, it's definitely the disability. Granted, I have been only really more fleshing out my queerness since just before lockdown, but my queerness has not literally shut down my brain like it did last night until I could order food and get it into my body so that I could actually function for this panel today, because I literally could not do anything. Just like brain fog and executive dysfunction, just basically a zombie that was only capable of, I don't know, watching YouTube and chatting with Dizzy or something, and uh, until I got food ordered, which I couldn't really afford. That's how but I got it. I got food in me, and I was ready to go again. And the reason I was in that position was because of executive dysfunction for general housework, uh, which I'm fixing. But it's it's a whole thing, and yeah, for me, it's less. This is what you can do. There is a part of this is what you can do to make things better. But for me, for a lot of ways, it's more like my brain is a ticking time bomb. From I'm doing okay to okay, my brain has decided you are not doing that anymore. You are just done. You cannot do anything for the next, well, anywhere from the next hour to 3 months. It varies. So I don't know.
The mention of
Disability.
food made me think about something else too. Like, we have a very artificial understanding of what healthy food is, that doesn't take any like allergies or disability or varied diet needs into factor. Like, if you need a lot more salt because of POTS, you have to take in more salt. And doctors are constantly saying, "Oh, like low sodium, low sodium, low sodium is better for you." So people have this idea that because it's better for me and most people to have low sodium, these disabled motherfuckers do not deserve the sodium. And it's like, no, some of us need to eat white bread because our guts suck. Like, some of us are told by our doctor, "Hey, don't eat the wheat bread," and I'm bad and I do it anyway because I don't usually like white bread. They're like, you know, "Don't eat this because it's gonna mess with your gut." And that's something people don't think about, and they don't think about the way that, like, if you're lactose intolerant like I am, I can't have the milk that's the cheapest. I gotta get the more expensive milk. And like the idea of what a healthy diet is that's been fed to us by the USDA is a lot more about what makes big agriculture industries money and what is subsidized than what is actually individually healthy for every person, which is gonna vary person to person so much. Like, if you are low on iron, you need foods that are high in iron, or you need to take an iron supplement. And it's not a universal thing. Like, I can't eat certain things, they hurt me. Or if I eat things that have lactose in them, I need to take a lactase tablet. People are like, oh, you have gut problems, you need to get more probiotics. And it's like, yeah, but probiotics are usually in yogurt, and that messes with my gut. So it's a catch-22, and I have to remember, oh, I gotta take my lactase tab, which I kept forgetting.
Yogurt is like super low lactose, actually. I
Yeah,
thought that
but
yogurt you have a different reason for not tolerating yogurt. Okay.
No, it's the lactose. I'm lactose intolerant, and I have ulcerative colitis.
Yeah.
So like it's very easy to trigger. If I can have one yogurt a week with no lactase tablet, and not cause a problem. But if I have one yogurt one day and one yogurt the next day, we're having diarrhea.
I also, like, this is kind of, I mean, no, I'm gonna go ahead and say it. Like, vegans, I love you, and I think that you have the morally superior position. Please get off my dick as a disabled person about going vegan. Because almost all of the alternatives to meat are, like, things that fuck your gut over if you have IBS. You know, like, the FODMAPs, like, whole low FODMAP diet that people do, it's, like, stuff that ferments in your lower intestines, and then you bloat, and it's painful, and you have, like, bathroom problems. Like, chill the fuck out on trying to push the veganism on people. You know,
Also,
it's not feasible for a lot of disabled folks.
Fizz mentioned this in chat, like yesterday, I think. Fizz has Alora, are you on EBT? You're on EBT. Fizz is on Snap.
I'm on EBT too.
Fizz only gets like $75 a month for Snap benefits, which is fucking ridiculous. And Fizz can't have SSDI, which is the one that gives you like a couple thousand a month. Fizz only has SSI, which is like it's only like 700 or 900 depending on where you live, and that's supposed to cover like all of your expenses. And having SNAP benefits, even just like an extra 75 a month, is helpful, but it's not enough to live on. It's not, you're not going to be able to, I mean, it is probably for some people, but if you're disabled and you can't cook, like I've had the like breakthrough of being able to figure out how to cook macaroni and cheese from a box on the stove over the past several months with a lot of familial help until I could do it on my own. It's pathetic how much I can't cook. And it's because of the pain in my legs and my inability to stand in the kitchen for any length of time. And I need a standing stool. Like, I need a mobility device for the kitchen that we couldn't even put it in the kitchen before because there wasn't enough space. We rearranged it, but those things cost like $100. It's such a barrier to being able to cook. And I can't lift most pots. Like, I had to figure out how to make the entire box of mac and cheese in a small pot. And it's not a lot of, you have to do a lot of making sure the water is correct, and there's not a lot of wiggle room, and you have to watch it, and that's tiring, so I had to pull a chair up. It's a lot of work for me. It's not work for, like, my dad cooks every day after getting home from work. He has some disabilities, but he's a good cook, and he doesn't have a problem standing at the stove. I do. I have a problem, and it's very hard to cook. So people will like get on you like, oh, it's not that hard to cook rice and beans as a vegan, and it's like, it's not that hard for you fuck. It's hard for me. Like, are you gonna cook for me? Are you gonna pay for me to have the vegan meals? Are you gonna pay for me to have the more expensive vegan dinners? Like, you know how much more it costs to get a vegan frozen dinner than it costs to get one with animal products? Do you have any fucking clue? Have you ever tried to navigate this shit as a disabled person? Do you have dietary restrictions? Do you have
executive
intolerance?
dysfunction?
Yeah.
Yes! And it's like, and the vegans are just like, I can do it just fine. Why can't you do it? And it's like, I can't. Do you have any, like, do you get mad at me when I feed my animals animal products because I can't afford the vegan shit? And I need to not let these animals in my care die? Are you gonna get mad at a dog eating dog food because that's all that the owner can afford? No. You have compassion for animals, but you don't have compassion for human beings. And a lot of vegans won't even, that's not even getting into the way that plant food product chains, whatever it's called, aren't ethical. Like, we're using basically migrant indentured servitude to
Farming,
pick
yeah.
a ton of our
Basically,
shit.
all farming has some amount of like labor exploitation. I mean, more than
Before we
average
get
labor
too far away,
exploitation.
I would just like to make one quick pro tip. If you're struggling with executive dysfunction for making food, get a rice cooker. If you can make pasta in them, and that does include mac and cheese. If you do it right, there won't be anything to drain, and you can mix everything all together in the rice cooker bowl, and it's just one that. Just a bowl and whatever you use to stir it, plus a plate and silverware to clean up. So that is a huge time saver that I found this year. So
Yes,
please continue.
I was getting the updates from Alora on the rice cooker being awesome, and it was very, it was like
Instapot, yeah, Instapots too.
this works, and I like, yay.
It works until you have to clean it.
Yes, that is the big issue. Yes.
Because we use an Instapot, and I'm the one who has to clean it. So
I know that very, 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 very well, and I may be putting off cleaning my rice cooker bowl right now.
That's the other like common meme you see is like they're like, don't use a plastic straw, save a sea turtle. I'm just like, bitch, do you know how many disabled can't lift a glass to their mouth? I can, but when I go into the doctor, I have to go through a checklist of things that I can and can't do, and one of those is, can you do this? A lot of people can't do this, so they have to use a straw. And
also, metal
like,
straws are dangerous to some people.
Because if you shake and you can clack it against your teeth and like break your teeth, yeah.
Yeah, like it's ridiculous.
There's no one size fits all that's gonna work for like, yes, there are like there's like conflicts between environmental needs sometimes and like disabled people's needs. I have to use air conditioning in my car even though like it's not good for the ozone or whatever, like because of my temperature problems. So it's like, but that's part of the point of having a human society is like, yeah, in order to keep people alive, we do things that are harmful to the environment. We use gasoline, we use electricity. Like every person uses electricity to some extent in the United States of America. So like, yeah, we do have to trade off the environment sometimes.
Stop putting the onus on disabled people to figure out how to survive in the environment that we're in, and put the onus on people in charge to make better decisions for how to structure the world so that we can live. It's not okay to make the world inaccessible and then say, well, we have to save the environment. Fuck that. The environment is bad because you set the system up badly to begin with. We could meet disabled needs if you set the system up better. You just don't want to because it's too expensive.
And you're bitching about straws in the ocean. Meanwhile, 90% of plastic ocean debris is from like fish nets, like plastic fish nets that have been just discarded off of corporate ships. So
yeah.
Are we nearing our time? How much time was this supposed to be? 2 hours?
Oh god, I think we're 4 minutes over.
No, you're fine. The people in the next panel aren't home yet, so we're good to go for another like 30 minutes.
We're filling time. Hi.
If I can make a suggestion, disabled marriage equality.
Sure.
Yes.
And SSI in general until we get cut off, because we could probably fill an entire 5-hour panel just bitching about SSI.
Oh, would you guys mind taking some questions from the chat as well?
Yes.
So if anyone has
Wait, no, I don't mind. Yes, please send us chat questions. No, I do not mind.
if anyone in chat has a question, go ahead and throw it my way. And
While
yeah.
you are collecting those questions, I just want to say that that SSI punishes disabled people for getting married. There's asset caps to SSI, so they literally can't save money. And if you get married, then you get a cut in benefits. So while technically gay people have marriage equality, we do not have marriage equality as a law of the land just yet. And that is just one of many, 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 many issues with SSI. But
And like you can save money through a trust that you don't have direct access to, but that's pretty fucking infantilizing. Like, hi, disabled person, you are so shitty that we're not gonna let you be treated as an adult and save money. You have to have somebody take care of these finances for you, because we have to make sure that we're not wasting money spending on a poor cripple like you. You're probably faking it. Why can't you just go to work? It's so much of this, like, oh God, people will report their neighbors who are disabled for disability benefits fraud because they see them mowing the lawn for 1 hour. And it's like, bitch, do you think that a job is mowing the lawn for 1 hour? Do you have any idea how many hours in a day you have to work? Disabled people can, like, be able to work for 7 hours a day, but not the 8 hours required, and still be unemployably disabled. If you don't meet the threshold, which is really fucking high for a lot of disabled people, you're disabled. You're unemployably disabled. Even if you can do an hour of yard work a day, being able to do an hour of yard work a day is not being able to do 8 hours of retail work in a day. It's not even being able to do 4 hours retail work in a day. If you can't do more than 1 or 2 hours of work in a day, you are not employable.
And just if anyone watching wants to do a panel for disabled people, you could easily get a full panel show with multiple questions on just the issues with SSI and applying for disability in general, which we're going to questions now. But if there's anyone if there's anyone out there with a panel show that would like to put that on, I probably don't have the spell slots to go on it, but you can bet that there will be an avalanche of disabled people wanting to get on and bitch about it.
Hi, I'm unemployed and I'm grumpy and I like talking, and also I'm funny. Put me on your panel.
Do you have a question for us, Star?
I have one that just came in. The Royal Rose says this might be kind of dumb or badly worded, but I mean it genuinely. If you are in a wheelchair, but you can kind of walk, like with a cane, does the wheelchair make you faster? Is it
Yes!
kind
Oh
of
my
like
God,
jogging
it's
versus
very much-
walking?
Yes, it's like, it is absolutely like running versus walking. I hate walking because it's slow, and I hate being slow. It drives me nuts. So like a lot of times you will see like people with a cane, they'll just be like going along really slowly. That's often me. I'm just struggling to keep up with people, and I hate that. So if the ground is flat and smooth and I'm on a wheelchair, I'm way faster than people walking. And it's way less effort too if the ground is smooth than like doddering along with a wheelchair. Also trying not to fall. I have a movement disorder, so I like not falling. Like, I'm pretty light and I'm pretty floppy, so you can tip me over and the worst thing that happens is I bruise. But like, I enjoy not falling because it means I don't have to like check the box off at my doctor's forms that said, have you fallen in the past 30 or not 30 months, 30 days. It also makes me feel less old. I don't like acting like a geriatric at 29. It's insufferable to me. I like to go fast. I like to break things. I don't like being slow at 29.
Me when I bust out the Heelys. Yeah.
Did you have something to say?
Oh, it's just someone asked, like, people who are unaware of how rude and infantilizing it is to, like, offer help in the way that they do. Someone wants to know, how do we get the word out and spread awareness of how infantilizing it is? I mean, my response is, like, be willing to be rude to people who are being microaggressions toward you. Or, like, I mean, conversations like this, I guess, are, like, the primary way, just to, like, trying to call attention to it.
Bring it up casually when it comes up. Like if you see it happen or you notice, be like, oh hey man, that's kind of rude. You know, have you ever considered how rude it is to like offer to a disabled person help, like they're incapable versus somebody else. Like, how's it going? You should offer help if a disabled person is experiencing something like an abled person would. Like, it's not rude if somebody's holding a lot of stuff and they drop it to go, oh, I'm so sorry you dropped your things, hand them all their things. Like, if I drop something and I don't notice, please tell me. I don't like losing my shit. That happens whether I'm disabled or not disabled. But if I'm just like doing my stuff and you see me reaching for something that's up high, like, would you offer that help to a short person? Would you offer that help to somebody who could walk? Weigh that, consider that. Like, if you see me falling over in my wheelchair on a bus, please offer me help like you would to anybody you see falling over on a bus. Because something has gone really wrong if I'm tipping over. But
in general, though, like, don't touch people's mobility devices without permission.
Oh, that,
like, unless it's clearly an emergency. Like, if they're stepping out into traffic and there's literally a car barreling down on them, then you might like yank them back. But like, don't put your hands on people without permission or their mobility devices. Like, that's an extension of their body. Don't do that. Frankly, if you see someone else touching someone's mobility device or grabbing them, like if they're blind and they're using a cane and they just get grabbed, like, I would say that's an assault. You should physically intervene.
Yeah.
Like, if you're able-bodied, you should go and be like, excuse me, don't fucking touch this person. Like, what are you doing? Like, yeah, I mean, because like the bystander effect is one of the toughest things to get over. Folks are just seeing something happen and not willing to intervene. Like, oh, I don't know, maybe that person's their carer or whatever. Like, sometimes even just getting really close to someone and staring at them is enough to make them stop doing something. I've done that before. Yeah, good time to smack the aggressor.
It is absolutely an assault. Like,
yeah,
it's happened before. It was my dad who did it. We were in the Costco parking lot and I wasn't going as fast as he thought I should be, and so he grabbed the handles of my wheelchair, which I have. I could take them off, but I do need assistance sometimes, so I have them, and I raised them to make them higher so it's easy when I do need assistance for somebody to help me out. Like, I asked Gayfesh to push me up the hill. He was nervous about offering help, but as I started to tire going up the hill, I'm like, yeah, okay, you could push me now. My arms are burning. Because it was just like 200 feet like up a hill the whole way, and after a while I was like, my arms are just like, oh, we can't do this no more. But you ask, like, if you see somebody struggling, that's when to offer. But if they say no, don't touch the chair. Don't
be like, are you sure? Don't be infantilizing.
Think of a wheelchair like a pair of shoes. Would you like run up to somebody whose shoes were untied and tie their shoes for them? No. So don't do it if you see somebody in a wheelchair having a problem. If you notice like the shoes are untied, say, hey man, your shoes are untied. If you notice that my backpack is unzipped, let me know. If you notice that I dropped something, let me know. But don't just automatically fix it for me. And like, God, there was something else I was going to say. Oh, it was really the thing with the Costco, because I struggle to say it on a one track forward. I will branch out into rabbit trail. That was one of the few times in my life where I was actually like I had trauma from having somebody touch me, because when the chair suddenly speeds up without you expecting it, that's freaky as fuck. It's like somebody suddenly hijacked your legs and you're not in control of your own movement before. And I was in a parking lot, which is a dangerous place, and that particular combination of him not asking, me not expecting it, and the chair speeding up and me feeling out of control, I started screaming at him. Just automatically, what are you doing? Stop, stop, stop. And he was really upset that I did that, but it was like, you have no idea how distressing that was and how much I have started panicking remembering that incident before, because it's if you haven't been through one of those moments, you're not going to realize just how freaky and upsetting and disturbing that experience is. I see Star Panda typing in the GC.
Yes, yes. There's another question. Are there any particularly interesting or annoying things you have experienced being at the intersection of queer and disabled?
Oh, Star Panda stepping out for a bit.
Yeah.
Why brain no work? I want work. Please work, but I want to work. But I've actually experienced generally when I'm in a deep dark depression cycle, where I physically cannot move. Sometimes it's my entire body. Sometimes it's generally an arm when I'm going for a door handle to exit out of my lizard brain, my space. Uh, and yeah, sometimes my brain will just literally refuse to work. So for me, that's yeah, that's the most frustrating thing for me. My brain just decides that it's gonna mutiny on me.
One thing I get a lot is that people, if you see a disabled femme person, people will infantilize you. Like, I was called princess, by a TSA worker once, and like I am hard to insult, and I also tend not to let people's interpretation of my gender bother me as much as some other people. It's very hard to upset me by misgendering. I can be annoyed by people trying to very hard not to misgender me, because it's like, I don't know what my gender is either, other than I hate gender. I hate pronouns. It's why I didn't introduce myself with pronouns. Most people call me they, them, but I hate all pronouns. They're all bad for me for various reasons. So it's just like, I usually just, if people ask my pronouns, I go like, call me they if you have to. I like my name though. Call me Dizzy. Say
No
my
pronoun.
name say my name as much as you possibly can. I love hearing my own fucking name.
So your pronouns are the Lil Nas song.
Fuck, what was that about? Oh god, forgetful fun.
I was in the bathroom. I'm
Annoying
sorry if
things.
I looked limp on stream.
I haven't seen your puppet because I'm just looking at the Discord. That mental image is very funny. Oh, but with people infantilizing what they perceive as like a teen girl in a wheelchair. Nobody ever thinks I'm an adult either. That's the other thing too, is that people don't think I'm an adult. I have to like card myself to go, please stop treating me like I'm a child just because I'm short and I'm in a wheelchair. I am 29. I am older than your teenager. Me telling teens not to hit on me is like, child, I have changed the diapers of people your age. You cannot date me. I am too old for you. Please stop hitting on me. It's very like it's awkward, especially as somebody who has spent my whole life, even before I cracked my egg, trying to feel like I'm a person who deserves respect. Wanting to be respected is really important to me, and feeling that with like misogyny or, you know, whatever the trans version of this, we argue a lot about what the technical term is. Trans misandry, trans androphobia. I talk about it as like it's the shit that trans masculine people go through is like a trans extension of lesbophobia. It's a similar sort of phenomena, especially like since lesbians are often butch and a lot of lesbians have come out as also being trans. I identify as lesbian because I identify as a dyke. You know, I'm just also I'm a dyke on HRT. I'm a femboy on HRT, but of the other variety, it's like people will assume that you're female and they'll talk to you like you're female, and that's infantilizing when you're disabled because they're like, oh, so small, you're so cute, you're so woo, and I'm like, I'm the last person in the world you want to call. I would be absolutely.
You will crush
fucking
their toes and
terrified.
kick their ass.
Yes, I will break your shins with the front bar of my wheelchair if you ever try to hurt me. I am very scary. I am just unfortunately stuck in a meat suit that is pathetic. My, you know, if you could, if the essence within this meat puppet ever came out, the world would probably end and the sun would probably implode. I identify as a crippled punk for a reason.
I thought that you were just gonna say endless screaming.
So that's frustrating, but I'm also scared. I'm scared of identifying as more mask, and also of the drop in my voice, because like I'm afraid of running into a situation where I ever have to deal with cops, because when I'm under stress, my movement disorder really kicks, and cops are not patient and they want to see your hands. And the thing is, like, these are also my feet. This is how I move. I don't like my feet work while I'm in the wheelchair, but I can't just like walk the way that cops will expect. Police kill like 50% of the people that police kill are disabled. And if you are queer, you are more in danger in an encounter with the police, especially if you are a person of color. Which I'm not. Like, you can see how pale I am. You know, my mom is Italian. I didn't get her skin tone though. So, you know, like I'm a bit of envious about that because my sister has my mom's skin tone, and I think it looks better than my pasty, untanned. But you know, these are dangers that you face as a disabled person, and so being transmasculine is also on the teetering side of like, oh, we deal with misogyny. Oh dear, now we're dealing with the shit that disabled men get, where it's like, oh, it's a man, we can treat him roughly, and it's like, no, like you can't treat a disabled man roughly. That's how disabled men die in police custody, because police think it's fine. There was that guy who was like, he was a skateboarder with ulcerative colitis, whose name I forget because I'm really fucking bad at memorizing names. He died in police custody because like 5 or 6 huge cops, and they may have been black, but they were abled cops, manhandled him, and this skinny little dude with like an autoimmune condition because he has colitis, he's not sturdy enough to just be manhandled by these huge guys. So he died in police custody because no fucking shit. You can't just beat up on a dude just because he's a man. Police have also been fucking horrible to like guys in a wheelchair if they think that they aren't being respected by the guy in the wheelchair. Like, police have, like, fucking grabbed men out of their wheelchairs and, like, thrown them on the ground. One
They
time
do it
was
to women
because,
too.
yeah, one time was because a guy rolled over his foot, and it's like, I'm sorry, don't stand near the chair. Give the disabled person enough fucking space to move. Cops are freaking scary, and when you're disabled and like your body's a bit fragile and they're like demanding you to do things that you can't actually do, or to respond when you can't actually respond. This is why deaf people get killed a lot. This is why blind people get killed a lot. This is why people who don't speak English get killed a lot. It's because it's like, you know, for the Vashites, you've all seen that clip of him where he's like, Diamond says, put your hands up. Oh, you didn't say something. It says, it's terrifying. That clip is funny because it's so fucking scary. It's true, and it's freaky, and it's terrifying. And like people will make fun of you if you're disabled and white. They're like, you're white, you're fine, you got nothing to fear. And it's like, no, you stupid fuck. If you don't think that disability impacts your safety with the cops, you aren't fucking paying attention to Black Lives Matter. Like, you weren't paying attention to Black Lives Matter at all if you thought that disability wasn't a problem. George Floyd died because he couldn't breathe in the position that he was put in. And having limited respiratory function is a common disability. If you can't survive the police encounter because your body is not up to it, that means that being disabled is a crime that is punishable by summary execution. That's not something that you'll hear a lot of people talk about. And I bring it up constantly because it just, if you talk to like people who are like actually invested in police violence, they will bring it up that disabled Black people are in extreme danger. But when you talk to like the average person, like they'll play down the fact that disability is a danger because they're so fixed on the idea that it's just race. And no, it's not just that. And you know, yes, I am white, but if you play down the idea that trans people are in danger, if you play down the idea that disabled people are in danger, if you play down the idea that physically disabled people and like trans women, especially, like, God, I don't want to go into a whole ramble about trans misogyny, but the way that trans women are impacted is just, it's a lot. It's a lot, and that's why we talk about Black trans women being in danger, because trans misogyny is bad.
Izzy.
I'm sorry, yeah. Yes. I could go on for 5 hours.
I know you can.
Sorry, Zen.
5 hours seems to be a little bit short for you, Dizzy.
Yeah, 2.5 hours.
Yes. Okay.
So before we go on to anything else we're gonna do, I do want to say that someone in chat said, I identify as a threat. So
Yes.
I thought that was hilarious. But yeah,
Yes.
I want you all to, first of all, I want to thank you guys for coming on. I really appreciate it. And go ahead and like plug yourself, let people know what you do and all that stuff. Yeah. Let's go with Dizzy first and keep it short.
Hi, I'm Dizzy. I post on Twitter under On the Mountaintop. I would be on the mountaintop, but it did not fit the character limit, so it's On the Mountaintop. On the DA Mountaintop. You can also find me, my art is at CDizzyDraw, both on Twitter and Instagram. I rarely post, though. I'm trying to get back into posting. I hang around a lot in Demon Mama's. You can see me also in Vosh. So, like, thank you to the people who always buy me a Vosh subscription. I appreciate you. Yes, thank you for incentivizing me reasons to post funny things. Oh, Fizz is typing. Somebody else do their outro. Hi, Fizz.
I'm
Fizz says
Luxander.
that does sound like Dizzy.
Yeah, Dizzy. Yeah.
Yes,
I'm
Lux.
Luxander, and I am on YouTube as a streamer. But I have a website, luxander.net. So you Voshites out there, I have my own website that is just like Vosh's website, and we have the the cool custom emojis. I stream on Tuesday, Thursday evenings, and then Sundays at noon. So I'll be streaming tomorrow at noon. And yeah, I talk about politics, trans politics. I'm non-binary. I use it, its pronouns. So I talk about like the xenogender shit. I break down the laws. We talk about the stochastic terrorism. And I also sometimes have tangents about like the English language and paganism and all kinds of random stuff that I am personally interested in. So feel free to come hang out if you want to tomorrow at noon Central Time.
And sometimes you do costumes, like the horns.
Sometimes I do horns. Yeah, I'm the dragon streamer, so I don't have the horns on my
Yeah.
desk right now, actually. But and then I made like, okay, I'm gonna censor it a little bit. I made myself a custom packer because I don't want to have scrotoplasty. So sometimes you'll see me like, flopping it around a little bit. Anyway, we have fun.
And Alora.
Hey, I'm Alora. I don't really have much of a presence anywhere on the web. I am a Demon Mama moderator. I tend to think of myself as someone that helps behind the scenes most of the time and helps build out community and try to make things comfy as much as I can. And also, I am going to be running Demon Mama's call-in tomorrow. So at 3 p.m. Pacific, Demon Mama's gonna go live. Call-in start at 4. Uh, go to demonmama.com or demonmama.com/live. There will be information on how to sign up. It's going to be a cool forum. We're still working as a kink, so bear with us. And this is more intended for content creators to help communities get to know each other and build bridges between them.
Or are you getting a cut of donations for that?
Yes, I am. That was part of the initial negotiations.
Yes. So everybody needs to go to Demon Mama's stream tomorrow and donate so that Alora can have money, so that Alora can buy food.
I'm gonna try to be there too.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Depending
sign
on
up
how
for
late
that
it
as
is.
well.
Yeah.
Probably talk about the stuff we did today.
Mhm.
So
You can DM me later for details. We're not doing hard signups. But we can get people in. Yeah. And if you want to put together a disability panel, talk to Dizzy. I'm pretty sure that Dizzy would be more than happy to kick your ass into putting everything together. And that's about all I got.
nice.
Yep.
And I really appreciate you guys. I'm Star Panda TV. I'm not signing off quite yet, but we still got a long way to go. And I appreciate everyone coming along. Thank you for basically joining this event session. And yeah, I hope you have
brief event session. These could go on for 100 times longer.
Yeah, I
Make sure to
know.
donate
I know.
to the Rainbow Passage if you can afford it. The Rainbow Passage is trying to extract trans people from unsafe states like Florida and Texas and literally physically locate them across the country. They've successfully extracted 6 people. They've traveled thousands of miles going to get these people and getting them out. So that's what we're here to support today, is like very direct mutual aid. So if you sign up and like just do a little donation, even like a couple dollars can help when it comes to like paying for gas, like helping pay for someone relocating them, like, helping them get food and stuff during the period of time while they're trying to get a job in the new state. Like, and also feel free to go check it out and potentially volunteer. You could, if you have an extra bedroom, you can volunteer in that way, like housing someone temporarily, or you can just like help online. There's like graphic design help. Amy is having some trouble getting the website all figured out because she's the only one building the website. So if you can do like web building, web development, we need volunteers to organize. Like we need so many different types of help. So please consider checking out the website, rainbowpassage.org, and donating at passage.lgbt/donate if you have the resources to do that. We're in a very dangerous place in our country. A lot of these trans people are also disabled, so like have even fewer resources, and the more people we can help, the better. So thank you all for being here, and please check out those links to help out.
Awesome.
Donate, donate, donate. We've all got to go now and do maintenance on our disabled bodies.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, go do that.
Even me. I need to
Bye.
pee real bad.
So bad.
All right, thank you. Bye.
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 And everything breaks.